Hi all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. If you've been watching, you'll know that I'm currently holidaying in the beautiful part of the world called Fiji. And whilst it's difficult to leave the reefs behind, also our dog that's gone off to the in-laws, our cat that's gone off to our wonderful friend Liv. I have to watch my reef tanks via these security cameras while my good friend Dave's looking after them for me. Thankfully, the tanks are fairly automated, so that doesn't require too much hand holding, but still it's good to have someone as experienced as Dave come and check on them, and I can also do a bit of a sneak peek via these cameras and see what's happening. Today, out on our journeys, after a little bit of carver here, just to get a little bit of Dutch courage and temporarily become a chief of what I guess was a gift store here while I was sitting on the floor while this young man tried to peddle some of his wares. He was not quite as friendly when we didn't buy half the store, but I guess that's what happens, that's okay. So after our carver, we headed out to this awesome place called Kula Eco Park, I should say. It's a wildlife park where they've got, as you can see from the sign there, lots of parrots and iguanas and things there. All the sort of things you'd expect from a Fijian wildlife park. Got to see these really nice red-breasted parrots, and some other hawk-type birds. I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly the name of that one, but it was a stunning bird nonetheless. These awesome cousins of a lorikeet, and of course everyone gets to hold an iguana. And maybe it was the carver or something else, but I let my 4-year-old daughter hold a boa constrictor. Sure, it was a baby, but still, it's a boa constrictor. But nonetheless, carver or not, the main reason why I came here was there's a pretty cool couple of little marine features, and let me tell you about them now. Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. Just out, still on my holiday in Fiji, and have stopped by this park called Kula Wild Adventure Park. They've got a bit of marine life here, some cool parrots, some iguanas, and a bit of a water park and that for the kids, which is always a bit of fun. But two things that really caught my eye. The first one is this incredible outdoor marine pond, which is for sea turtles. I believe they're hawk-bill sea turtles that they catch. They have a really high mortality rate in the wild, the hatchlings, and as a result they're endangered. So they grab some little hatchlings here and raise them up before releasing them back in the wild, and they're housed in this incredible outdoor marine pond, which is I'm estimating around 8,000 to 10,000 litres deep. It's got pretty basic filtration. I spoke to the staff here. They just run this large sand filter over there. They've got some mangroves growing in the middle, and they do a 20% water change once a month. There's no coral in here. Obviously they keep it shaded to I'll show you up there. They keep it shaded so the water doesn't get too hot, because we are in Fiji and it's 30 degrees today here in the winter. But what was really cool is there's a bit of variety of marine life in here. There's some incredibly fat sailfins, butterflies, tusk fish, damsels, chromis. There's like 3 Scopas tangs in here in this 10,000 litre tank. The Scopas tangs continually fight with each other. There's a blue spot ray. What else is there? I think there's some orange shoulders. There's a bunch of Fiji foxface. And probably more importantly, the stars of the show are these really cool turtles. Let's see if I can get them without getting too much light. And you actually get to hand feed these guys, which is really cool. They're so tame, which hopefully doesn't harm them when they go out in the wild. And you see there's really low flow in the tank. Obviously with no coral it's not an issue. But yeah, these turtles just cruise about and wait for their hand feeding 3 times a day. And yeah, these huge tanks go around. Look how fat they are. Cleaning up the scraps. They seem to quite enjoy it. Actually, there's a couple of pajama cardinals in here too. What else can I see down there? There's a sailfin tang. There's some starfish. I'm surprised the turtles don't munch the starfish, but they all seem to get along. Yeah, there's also a coral display, which I'll show you next. Thankfully, I was able to talk my way into getting a behind-the-scenes tour of the type of gear they run. Okay, onto the coral tank displays. I must admit, these weren't as impressive as you could imagine, but having been to places like the Melbourne Aquarium and that, they probably were a little bit better than that. Some of the soft corals in here are incredible. The elegances were really nice. The leathers are very good. Although I must admit, to a keener eye, you'll notice in a second we'll see some really, what we classify in Australia to be really hardcore SPS. They didn't really shine under these lightings, but you can see some nice leathers there and a toadstool going well, some morphs. Unfortunately, a little bit of algae there. There's been some live rock collection bans in Fiji of late, so these tanks have switched to artificial rock, and they did seem to be suffering from a little bit of algae from that rock. You can't have a public aquarium without the huge lionfish dominating one display, which did raise some questions to me, thinking what's the bio load like in these tanks, and how are they going about tackling that. You can see here there's a huge fireworks acro colony there. It did take me a couple of looks to notice that it was a fireworks, because it didn't quite have that stunning purple with orange polyp look instantly, but when you look closely, it's there. There's some big dollar trackies there, some more nicely grown in acros. Good to see that these ones have actually been around for a while, because in the next tank there's some that look like they've just been dropped in there for a week. Some fairly basic fish in there, some chromis, nice little clam. Scopaz tank seems to be popular down here. And onto the final tank, which for some reason, despite using the same lighting, appeared to be different colours to the others. But you got a nice helio. There's a few chalice in this tank, which was interesting to see. I'd like to see what colours they had under better lighting. A couple of acro pieces and a goni. Some things that did look like they're about a week old into the tank. Excuse me. And I couldn't help but give another close-up of this lionfish, just because, it's cool. And then, right behind him is that awesome fireworks acro colony. All right, this is what led me to what I could see of the office, and I thought, let's see what I can do. I'll see if I can put on some Aussie charm and talk my way into getting a little bit of a tour out the back. And before you know it, here we are. You see a massive RODI set up, a huge assortment of filter socks, fairly basic testing equipment. Come across to some fairly large storage tanks there, RO written on one of them, and I assume the others were saltwater. You can see some Orphic Atlantic lights on there, and to my surprise, each of these tanks were ran by a Profilux. They each had dosing, each had a bunch of marine pure. These are all housed in, I'm pretty sure these are acrylic tanks, some Beckett-style skimmers there. Funnily enough, the skimmers were not running. There's a Reef Creation GFO, activated carbon reactor there. Onto the next tank. Each tank is basically a carbon copy of the next, all running Profilux controllers, GHL doses. They've all got these huge UV reactors on them. You can see them there. I think I panned down here. They've got 4 tubes in each of them, and they look massive, so they're buzzing everything out of the tank there. Here I asked the staff what they're dosing, and she said this is chemicals for the corals. They were labelled ABC. I'm going to assume that's alk, calcium and magnesium, but I didn't want to push my luck, seeing that I'd talked my way out the back here, and she did seem a little edgy with me walking around, particularly once I started filming, so I moved on fairly quickly. And you can see each of these tanks with a bunch of marine pure, some big external control pumps, lots of plumbing. It looks like they've got some flow meters on each of those pipes too. I assume for the Profilux to measure how much flow has gone through each one. And the big row of Orphic Atlantic LEDs. Pretty cool to see. To be honest, the filtration room to me was 10 times more impressive than the displays. But it was still awesome to see on what was expected just to be a carver-filled journey. So drink up and enjoy. Thanks for watching.
Vinaka.